Hi guys, it's Katie from Redheads Unraveled, and today I want to talk about a different type of cast-on that you use in specialty cases like toe-up socks. Judy's magic is really nice. It creates a nice flat piece of knitting that you can then join around with two provisional edges. So you have two live edges of knitting to work from. So basically you can join those in the round and then have a solid toe or a solid closure on the bottom that looks exactly like the rest of your knitting. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with a 40-inch cable needle, and we're using a size 3, a little bigger than I usually use for socks, but it's so you guys can see it really clearly. And then I have a little bit of Nooch Fibers sock yarn, and we're going to use that for our nice contrast color so you can see that really well. And that is looking really dark, so let me grab a piece of cardboard here. Can we see that a little better? Yeah, okay. So, what we want to do is we want to start with our needles in our right hand. The cable is coming off to the right, and so the needle points are facing to the left. We're going to take our yarn end here. And we need about, she recommends 12 inches. I think 12 is a lot for a sock toe. I usually go a little bit less than that just because I don't end up using it and then I get a whole bunch of extra yarn. To begin with, start with whatever you feel comfortable with. Honestly, if you want to do 12, great. I'm going to start with about 8. So, what you're going to do is find that 8-inch mark or 12-inch mark, whatever you feel comfortable with again, and you're going to make it wide like you're going to do a long tail cast on. And you're going to put the tail end over your index finger and the ball end over your thumb. Okay, then we're going to start with a nice twist, so take your needle down, twisting, giving you a nice twist there on your needle. So that's our first loop, and it's going to be on the back needle. Okay. Now, it's nothing fancy, but it works really, really well. Judy's magic is definitely something that you almost have to find a rhythm for. So don't feel like I didn't get this the first time, I'm never gonna get this. Keep practicing, keep trying. It definitely took me a few tries to get it just right, so don't feel defeated. Okay, so we have our loop on our back needle, the needle that's farthest away from us, and then we have 2 strings coming off of our hand onto our hands. We have one going over index finger and one going over our thumb. So what we're going to do is we're going to lean our fingers forward, and we're going to wrap the back yarn, the index yarn, around our front needle. Now we're going to lean our fingers back and take our thumb yarn and go over the back needle. And we're always going over to the inside. So whichever direction we're going, we're always pulling the yarn from the outside to the inside. So we're going to tilt it back again so that our front needle is going to get a loop on it. So we take the yarn around our index finger, goes from the outside to the in. There you go. And now we're tilting our hand back again, wrapping that thumb yarn around the needle. Now the index finger. Okay. Now the thumb. Now the index finger. Now the thumb. And keeping that yarn right in the middle there. Now the index finger. Okay, so I'm going to take my hand off for a second. We're going to talk about what we have here. So we have our initial twist here. You can also use a slip knot if that makes you feel more comfortable. You can try that out first. So we have the slip knot, and then we have its corresponding wrap. And then we have the wrap on the back and wrap on the front. wrap on the back, wrap on the front, wrap on the back, wrap on the front, back, front, okay? So we want to always work in pairs because that's usually how we're going to be casting on our toes. We're going to be working in pairs, usually 12 or 16 stitches, maybe 24. And you want to think, okay, well, if I need 12 stitches, then I only need 6 wraps on each needle. We have 10 right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to flip this over and I want you to look at the bottom of it. And this is a great way to tell if you're doing it right or not. So if I'm going to turn this over, and you're going to look at it really close here. I'm going to zoom way in so you can see it. And you're going to notice that there are purl bumps in between the needles, in between your front and your back needle. There are little purl bumps. And that's how you can tell if you're doing it right. Because every time we come back and forth, I'm going to show you the back side. We're going to twist this way. Now we got to do the other side. It's creating that little bump. It's wrapping around each other. And that's the key to making Judy's Magic Cast-On work. So, if you flip it over and you don't have purl bumps, you just have wraps on each needle, it's not going to work. Start over. Take the time. It's not a big deal. Start over now. Save yourself a headache later. This is where we're starting our provisional cast-on from, basically, is that we're taking it and making a row of knitting with 2 live edges. Okay? So I'm going to cast on a few more just to play with here. So when I turn it back over, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm going to take that last one off just so that you guys can see exactly how I'm going to start it over. Now this yarn right here is coming off my front needle, so I know it goes over my index finger. And the other yarn is coming off my back needle, so I know it goes over my thumb. So we were starting with our back, so we're going to start back. We're going to start with the back. So we go over the back with our thumb, now over the front with our index, over the back with our thumb, over the front with our index. And you can kind of see you get a rocking motion going with your hand, and that's key to making this work. So back, front, back, front. Okay, so let's count these up and just to kind of get a nice idea. And they are tight. Everyone I know who's ever done Judy's Magic Cast-On ends up with a first row that's really tight, and that's fine. It'll loosen up as we go. So give these a count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Okay. I think I might do one more just to make it a nice even 20. So back and front. Okay. So now we have 20. We have about a 6-inch tail going on here. We don't want to knit with our tail, so don't do that. It's important to keep in mind. Alright, so we all know that as knitters we want to always have our yarn, our starting yarn in our left hand. So we're going to turn that around and get that ready for going here. Okay. It goes in our left hand, and now I turned it over so that the purl bumps are facing me, facing up to the ceiling. That just helps me see what I'm doing. I know that I want to knit across this front needle, this needle that's closest to me now. And I know that I want the knit stitches to face out. So I'm going to pull the needle at the back. So the needle that's farthest away from me. I'm going to pull it to the right, letting my stitches sit on my cable. Okay. Now we're going to work our stitches across. So if you want it to tilt it up, some people find that a little easier to see exactly where it's going. What we're going to do is we're going to twist and lock our yarn down now. So I'm going to take my tail and go over my yarn that's connected to the ball and hold it down. I'm using my ring finger and my middle finger on my right hand to help me do that. And now I'm going to use my ball of yarn, my yarn that's connected to my ball, in my left hand to help me get going here. So now I'm going to start knitting. You're going to knit across this side. Remember, when we're talking about magic loop, we want to make sure and leave a loop on each side of our knitting, of whatever piece we're working on. That's what creates the magic. So make sure you have 2 of them. Okay, and then once we finish this side, we're going to do just like we do every time. So now I have no stitches on my left hand needle. So I'm going to lay it down for a second. And I'm going to turn my work over. So I'm going to take my finished stitches, put them on the bottom. Okay, so now I need to work off of a needle in my left hand. So I'm going to take my left hand needle, push the cable back through the stitches that haven't been worked yet. It might be a little tight. It's okay. Just work it in there. If you experience that it's too tight to work with, go ahead and pull the bottom needle, the one we just finished working with, pull that one toward the right. Okay. And you can see the yarn hanging off at the bottom here, telling us where we just finished working. Okay. Now those other stitches should just slide right on there very easily. No problems at all. Yep. Right onto that left hand needle. Okay. So now if we look at our work here, we can see that there is a row of knitting in the middle. Let's zoom that in a little so you guys can see a little better. There's a row. You can see the V's in there. And then you have a set of live stitches down here and a set of live stitches up here. Okay? So now we're going to work the ones that are on the left hand needle now. So, not the ones we just worked. That's where your string's coming off. Down here, we're going to do this top. The key to Judy's magic to make the stitches not twisted is when you get to this point, you're actually going to knit this side through the back loop. So, I'm going to take my needle, and I always find the first one is twisted correctly, so I knit it through the front. And then all the rest of the stitches on this side, we're going to knit through the back loop. So I'm not going to come through here. I'm going to go through the back, push my needle through the back leg. So it's the same look, essentially, except it's wrapped around that back side. So just and you knit normally otherwise. So all the way across there, just through the back loop. We're going to work all the way across here. Okay. So that is Judy's Magic Cast On. Now you can see that we have 2 completed rows of knitting with 2 live edges, and that is literally the very tip of your sock. So if you wanted to think of it like the tip point, it would fold over just like that. Okay, so our right hand needle is free now, so we're gonna take it, turn it around, and now remember, as we start working across here, you want to make sure that the knitting side, the stockinette side, is facing you whenever you're knitting. So you don't want to get that row of purl bumps or get it turned around so that your toe is, the tip of your toe has pearls on it. To make sure that it's all facing the right direction, we're gonna go back into here, put our, set up our magic loop again here. Like I said, if you have problems, it should have loosened up when you did that second row. Occasionally it's still a little tight, just based on how tight you knit. Which apparently I'm knitting very tightly today. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and the yarn you just worked from, there it is. It's going to go across your purl, the backs of your stitches, the purl sides, and join up with your front. So we're going to knit here, we're going to go across here. This is where you would start doing your increases. So if you're doing a make one right or a knit front back, this is where you would do it. I will do a make one right, so you guys can see a toe getting started here. Try not to knit with that tail. I know it's in the way right now. It will eventually go away. You'll be able to tuck it in as soon as we get a little more length on this. I think this is probably the trickiest part about socks. I don't find the heel near as tricky as getting the sock started. And I always find that Judy's magic is sometimes the hardest part to grasp about making socks from the toe up. Okay, I'm at that next to last stitch, so I'm going to do my other increase. This one's going to be a make one left. And then I'm going to knit that last stitch. Okay. So there's the tip of our toe. We're going to keep on going here, so we'll turn it around, pull our needle through the stitches we want to work. And then push our needle back through the stitches we want to work. And we're going to pull the needle that we just finished working to the right and out of the stitches so that those old stitches are now sitting on a cable. Like I said, don't forget you have a loop on this side and a loop on this side. Okay, so we're going to knit across here, going across that, pulling our yarn across the purl bumps, and then over to where we can knit on the other side. So knit that first stitch, and then we're going to pick up a stitch. So I'm going to look down here, I find my bar, there it is. We're going to do a make one right. Knitting across until the last stitch. Okay, we're going to do another make one. There's the bar. See if you can see it right here. It's the top one. Here. Make one left. And knit one. Since we're doing a rounded toe, our next row is a knit round, so you'll knit all the way around again. But you can really start to see that toe, the top of that toe, taking shape once you just get a couple of rounds going on that. So that is Judy's Magic Cast On for toe up socks. To master the next step, which would be toe up 2 at a time, you would be doing 2 of these at the same time on the same needle. So that will be for class time, and I can't wait to see you guys there. If you have any questions about the video or about Redheads Unraveled, post below or write on the blog, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a great day.